Okay, and welcome. This is John Blake speaking, and I am going to go through with you some of the best information that I have both discovered and used with fantastic results in terms of how to get great people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, to start off with, where have all of the great people gone? So we'll examine why it is that it's becoming increasingly harder for people to attract great people into their business, how to actually find great people, the biggest mistakes people make when they actually hire people, and how to actually avoid them. Then we're going to go into, and this is where we're going to spend the most of the time today, into the actual interview process and how to actually weed out the A players from the C players. So we'll talk about the interview process, and then we'll get into some specifics around questions. So this is in response to the survey that I did, whereby one of the biggest challenges that people are facing at the moment is how to find good people. So I've had a lot of people email me direct and want to know some answers. So what I wanted to do was preface this by saying, look, you know what, this is actually not my information. I didn't come up with this. What I did is I discovered this information, and it is largely due to the work of a gentleman by the name of Brad Smart, who has a company called Top Grading, or a process called Top Grading, and you can find him on Google. He shared some information. I then used that information and had a great result in someone who I was hiring. I then taught it to 2 or 3 different people who also had great results. So I wanted to preface this by saying, look, this works. I've had experience myself and have taught it to other people, which I think is an important distinction. So credit where credit's due. The guy's name is Brad Smart. His company is called Top Grading. If you want to find out more information beyond this, you can certainly seek him out, and he has some really great stuff. Okay, so where are all the great people? Where are they all gone? Okay, so especially in Western Australia, and also I think also in Queensland, mining has taken a lot of people out of the day-to-day workforce. They can earn good money, so they do. A lot of the great people are employed already. Often the people that you get, there is a reason why they're not employed. You might discover somebody who is in between jobs, and obviously that's an opportunity to get someone great into your business, but a lot of the good people already have a job. Traditional approaches aren't working, and you can run an ad, but you often get a whole stack of substandard type applicants, which means that you end up making poor choices, you're picking from a bad bunch, and over time, as a business owner, you can lower your standards in terms of what's acceptable with regard to the people that you've got working for you. And look, let's face it, if you've got a business, if you're going to employ somebody, you may as well get the best person possible. And I'm going to give you some ideas on how you can actually make that happen, so you can stop having to settle for second best, and dissolve this belief that there are no good people out there, because there are. So let's get stuck into that. So how to find good people. Okay, so some of this is going to be good news, some of it's going to be not so good news, but that's cool. The best people in your industry, who are they? Well, what I'm going to recommend here is that you make it your business to know who they are, and beyond that, begin a relationship with them. And I'm not talking about beginning a relationship with them for the purpose of hiring them straight off the bat. I'm talking about creating a relationship with them because it should be your business to know who the best people in the industry are. So I'm not talking about connecting with them and offering them a job straight off the back. I'm talking about connecting with them and then developing a relationship with them. And I'll give you an example. There's a guy who runs one of the best most successful real estate businesses in Western Australia. And a friend of mine who is a real estate agent had his own office with a competing real estate office to this particular gentleman. And this guy, over time, over the space of 2 to 3 years, started develop a relationship with this friend of mine. And even though this guy had his own office, he was essentially running his own real estate office for a rival real estate company, he ended up jumping over and working with this guy purely because he was a fantastic operator and he developed a relationship with this mate of mine. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about here. So how do you do that? Well, you treat them like a potential great client. Keep in touch with them. Give them valuable information. This gentleman that I just referred to before would send my friend books every now and then. He'd just mail him books randomly. I thought you might be interested in this. Thought this might be useful for what you're doing. Continued to add value to him, and then essentially what ends up happening is that if you do develop a vacancy, if a vacancy becomes available in your business, then you have then got 4 to 6 people that you have got sitting on what we call, or what Brad Smart calls, your virtual bench. So that's 6 people that you have a relationship with, 6 A players, stars that are in your industry that you have a relationship with, that you can then connect with and say, look, don't know whether this is something that you're interested in, but it's just come up. Be happy to talk to you about it if it's something that's of interest. And that way, it's from a positioning perspective, you're not putting yourself in that situation where it's like, oh, I need someone, I'm desperate, I'll settle for anyone. And you end up raising the bar in terms of the caliber of people that you've got working in your organisation. So look, I'm not going to fool you and say that this isn't going to take time, but I can tell you right now that if you do it, it will be a very, very valuable thing. So if you subscribe to the idea that having the best people in your business is a priority, if you subscribe to the idea that the people in your business pretty much make your business what it is and enable you to be able to work on your business and not have to run around fixing up everyone's mistakes all day, then this is something that I would highly recommend that you do. Okay, so something else that we need to look at is what are the biggest mistakes that people make when they hire, right? So the 2 biggest mistakes that they make, or actually the 3, are they hire people that they hire people that are like them, and the third one, and this is probably one of the biggest and probably one of the most deadly, is that they don't get clear on what the core competency that is required by that person is. Okay, so let's just examine a couple of these. So hiring people that they like. Well, just because you like someone, it doesn't mean that they're going to be the best person for that particular job. There's probably not that much more that I need to add to that, right? So just because you connect with someone personally, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best person for that particular job. The second one is hiring people like them. Well, if you have particular strengths that you bring to the business, but you also have weaknesses as well. So if you've got a whole organisation full of people that are just like you, then you've got the same blind spot repeated over and over again with each new person that you actually employ. So that's something that is definitely something to look out for. But the third one here, not getting clear on what the core competency required is. See, everyone has have strengths and weaknesses, and the key is to work out, okay, of all of the things that I want this person to do, what is the core thing that I need them to be able to do? Okay, so I can give you an example of this. I have a nanny at my place because I'm a single parent, and one of the things that I got clear on before I started interviewing nannies is what is the core competency that I want this person to have. And I got really clear on that because as a nanny, you could expect them to want to cook, you could expect them to want to clean, you could expect them to want to do all these things, this big list of things that you could get them to do. But what is the most important thing? Now, I have a 1-year-old son, and at the time he was only 6 months old, and I have at that point a 3.5-year-old daughter. So my core competency that I wanted that nanny to have was that she would be 100% focused on the actual children. So I had a lot of different people that I interviewed, but this was the core competency that I saw that was demonstrated to me in the nanny that I ended up hiring, and I have not regretted that at any point throughout the last 6 months that we've actually employed her, because she is absolutely 100% focused on the kids. She loves the kids, they love her, and as far as I'm concerned, that's my criteria. And that's what you need to do. What is the core thing? Because anything else is going to be a bonus. And if you get, people aren't super women and super men. You need to get clear on what that one big focus is that you want handled, that box that you want that person to tick first and foremost, and then anything else that complements that is going to be a bonus. And you often see evidence of this where you've got somebody who's employed and they become very good at a number of different tasks, and then they leave the business, and then there are two people that are employed to do the same job that person was employed to do previously. So over time they may develop additional competencies, but to start off with you need to know what that one core competency is. Okay, so let's move into the interview process. So this is particularly powerful, and I think this makes up the core of and the brilliance of what Brad Smart teaches. So the interview process, it can happen over a telephone conversation, and it can also happen face to face. But what we recommend is that talk to them on the phone to start off with, and you can do a version of the actual interview process that we can talk about here in a sec. But have a telephone conversation and create a short list, because if you meet with everyone face to face straight off the bat, one, it's time consuming, and two, it doesn't position you particularly well. They should need to perform well on the phone, especially if they're going to be a sales type person. I mean, you could use this for any sales type role. You could use it for any type role within your business. But as it relates to sales in particular, I think they need to have a good telephone conversation with you, and obviously their resume or their CV is going to factor into your decision making as to whether you meet with them face to face. And essentially they need to sell you on if you should meet with them face to face in that telephone conversation. So you should set it up where you're having a few telephone conversations first, and then having a shorter list of face-to-face conversations. When you actually get to that point. So when you go face-to-face, you can go deeper, and this is the process that we recommend. And I guess the broad brushstroke here is ask a lot of questions about a lot of jobs and go as far back as you can. And the other idea is what we call the threat of reference check. So that is probably the silver bullet. And again, this is Brad's material. Threat of reference check, which he calls TORC, T-O-R-C. So they are the things that you have working in your favour. Okay, so interview questions. So, as I said, what we're doing is we're asking a lot of questions about a lot of jobs. So tell me about your last job, right? So what were your expectations of that job? And then what was the good news in terms of what you experienced? And what was the bad news in terms of what you experienced? Now, here's what's going to happen. Your A players will reveal resourcefulness. They will say, well, I thought the job was going to be like this. So, for instance, they might say, well, I thought that we were going to have more company-generated leads, but we ended up not really getting that many company-generated leads, and I had to become better at lead generation. And so what I did is I did X, Y, and Z to generate more leads. So they will reveal resourcefulness. What your C players will do will start to reveal blame and an inability to take responsibility for themselves and for their results. So you will see this start to emerge with C players, and you will see a pattern of resourcefulness with A players. And so this is really the key distinction that we're talking about here. You will see a pattern of behaviour. That's why you need to ask a lot of questions about a lot of jobs, not just about their past job. Okay, so the next question is, what were your major successes and what were your major mistakes or failures? And again, your A players will be candid about how they stuffed up. They will say, well, when I started off, I realised that I was absolutely horrible at this particular role, and it took me ages to get used to this, and over time I got better at it, and that was essentially what allowed me to become good in this particular role. C players will make up excuses, defend themselves, and will blame the actual company first. So again, you will start to see this pattern of not taking responsibility in your C players. So that is also an important question. The next question is, okay, well, who did you report to, right? And they'll say, oh, well, I reported to David. Okay, so then you say, okay, well, what was David like? And they will say something like, I mean, if they're an A player, they'll say something like, well, you know, David was, he was hard, but he was fair, and he was a great mentor. You know, we didn't always see eye to eye, but you know, he was always very fair with me, and I learned a lot from him. And your C players will again start to blame, and they'll say that he was inadequate and that they had a problem and they had a falling out, and again, you're starting to see a pattern, or you're starting to see demonstrated here what it was that they were able, or conversely not able to do in terms of getting on with people. So again, what you're looking for the whole time is for that core competency to be displayed. Okay, so what is the core competency that you're looking for, and in the answers that you're getting to these questions, whereabouts are you seeing that displayed or not seeing that displayed? Okay, so now here is the clencher, pretty much, in terms of the whole process. Okay, so the question is, what would be your best guess as to what David, as was referred to before, what is your best guess as to what David would say in a referenced call arranged by you regarding your strengths, your weaknesses, and your overall performance? Now, straight off the bat, your A players will see this as an opportunity to talk candidly about their successes and failures, and will welcome the opportunity to reconnect with an associate who they most probably are still on good terms with and in contact with, right? So that in and of itself will reveal a pattern that, okay, that I left that job, but I'm still on really good terms with the person that I work for because I did great work, and they'll have me back in an instant, and all the rest of it. Your C players will start to say stuff like, oh, well, I'm not sure whether, you know, that guy's there anymore, and, you know, he's pretty busy, and, you know, I just don't know whether he's going to be able to do it, and, you know, I kind of don't know whether I'd feel comfortable, and da-da-da. So again, under, as SMART refers to threat of reference check, you are going to see some big things revealed here, okay? And then at the end, so, and again, you're doing this for every job, so I would start with their most recent one and then just keep going back as it relates to their CV. So at the end, you ask, okay, well, why did you leave? Now, an A player will say, look, I received a new opportunity, and I could see it being a change. I was looking for a change, and I was excited about learning something new. I was excited about starting something new. I was excited about the project. And your C players will say stuff like, well, I got squeezed out. You know, I had a falling out with somebody, and you will see a pattern of behaviour there as well. So, I really hope that this has been valuable and useful to you, and I am looking to create more videos very shortly, and I'll be in contact with you when they become available. So hope that was useful, and I will look forward to talking to you all soon. Cheers.